Good evening, everyone. We're going to get right to it. David Molko with you on this Tuesday night with a KGW weather impact alert in effect and another rough 24 hours in your forecast, because for the first time this summer we saw our first 100-degree day hitting Portland, Vancouver, Hillsborough and beyond, with temperatures tomorrow potentially set to soar even higher. Plus, tragically, the rush to cool off turning deadly for a teenager in Fairview, with rescue crews once again sounding the alarm about diving into lakes and rivers. And we're also tracking wildfires, including one that broke out in Polk County as smoke from points east coupled with the haze settles in to the Willamette Valley. Let's go right to live team coverage, starting with meteorologist Joe Ranieri, because Joe, we've been talking about it. Tomorrow could potentially be even more extreme.
Exactly right. I'm forecasting highs in anywhere from about 98 to potentially 102 degrees. And yes, that would be record-breaking temperatures. Now, the record for tomorrow is 98. I'm going to the high of 99. I think we'll be seeing widespread records falling tomorrow afternoon. And it's just 11 o'clock on the nose, and this is the temperature outside right now, 83 degrees. It's kind of tough to tell from this camera and my graphic right now, but it's still pretty smoky and hazy out there, and that's going to continue going into tomorrow. We also have the heat advisory that's in effect tonight all the way into Wednesday night. So like David just said, another 24 hours of this heat, and then things will really cool off pretty quick. So tomorrow we'll have that high heat risk. Stay hydrated. If you're going to be out and about, even if you're going to be spending maybe 15, 20 minutes outside, maybe walking the dog, whatever the case might be, make sure you get plenty of water and make sure your pets get plenty of water as well. These were the daytime highs earlier this afternoon. 100 degrees was pretty much the common number. McMinnville, you clocked in at 101. Tomorrow is going to be just as warm, and along the coast, temperatures were in the mid to the low 70s. And going into tomorrow afternoon, we'll be dealing with some smoke, some haze, and the potential for some stormy conditions. I want to get to the advisories real quick. Air quality alert will be in effect throughout parts of the metro area. This orange color is a heat advisory, and there's also that red flag warning that's in place throughout the central and eastern side of the state because the high fire danger. Thunderstorms were in the forecast tonight. They'll be in the forecast again tomorrow, and there's the potential for seeing those thunderstorms in the metro area. I'll talk about that in just a few minutes.
Kind of the trifecta with the heat, the smoke, and the haze. Thanks so much, Joe. We'll get to that in just a second, but first to tragedy in East County, where authorities say a 15-year-old boy drowned at Blue Lake Park in Fairview. Deputies say the teen was swimming around 5:30 when he went under and did not resurface. He was not wearing a life jacket at the time. Crews recovered his body about 45 minutes later, some 75 feet from shore. This comes just 24 hours after a man drowned while fishing in the Columbia nearby. Okay, let's talk about wildfires, with nearly 80 of them burning across Oregon right now. Together, they burned some 650,000 acres. For perspective, that's about 7 times the size of the city of Portland. One of the latest, a brush fire that broke out this afternoon in a rural part of Polk County west of Salem. All McCarty watched as crews worked to gain the upper hand.
Tuesday afternoon on the outskirts of Dallas, Oregon.
And unfortunately, things like this happen very quickly.
Polk County firefighters joined other agencies to tackle a fast-moving 50-acre brush fire.
They immediately noticed that there was an issue with just the fuel sources, how hot it is, and just the conditions in general.
The height of the response, around 60 firefighters from various agencies were out here on Oak Villa Road, working to get this fire under control. Plus, the crew called up a helicopter from Roseburg to assist.
That resource, we actually were very fortunate to receive. Oregon has a lot of fires burning right now. Resources are pretty limited.
This especially helpful given the type of terrain and the fuels, a mix of agricultural land, oak trees.
We have had Christmas tree helicopters out here before, but never a fire helicopters.
And Don Beal's Christmas trees.
We've lost some trees to extreme heat in a few summers, but nothing even close to this.
He's not sure how the fire started, but says it's sure to be a devastating hit.
I'm guessing probably around 5,000 to 6,000 trees. We're going to have to determine what our loss is and see where we're going to go from there. Have a plan for that.
Firefighters kept flames from spreading to structures, and by 7:30 had the Oak Villa fire 50% contained. Dallas Fire Chief April Wallace confirmed most crews were released from the scene, with one crew staying overnight to monitor conditions. She has this advice with another hot day around the corner.
I do feel that it's important, especially when we're in these heat advisory days, when the weather's warm, and we're having a pretty serious like dry spell, I guess you could say. Just being mindful about what activities you're doing.
In Polk County, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Well, meanwhile, another brush fire, this one in Washington County, impacted Highway 6 near Forest Grove before crews put out the flames. Local officials there recommending folks keep water in their car just in case. Widening out, we have learned Oregon's largest fire, the Roe Creek Complex fire, is now 21% contained. Some good news there with more than 500 crews spread out across Wheeler, Jefferson, and Wasco counties. I want to bring in Catherine Cook now, tracking all the smoke and haze. And Catherine, you caught up with experts about why breathing in all of that is so bad for all of us.
Yeah. They don't want people to take it lightly, David. In fact, they're urging folks to monitor air quality on their own because it might be bad even if you can't actually see the haze. Couple that with our sustained heat and we could be in for a rough few days.
The view of downtown Portland from Pittock Mansion?
It is remarkable.
It'd be better if you didn't have to breathe it in.
The view is beautiful, would be prettier without the haze for sure.
Experts say the haze floating in from wildfires across the region is serious. The DEQ issued an air quality advisory through at least Wednesday in the Portland Metro and several counties across Oregon. On Tuesday, Oregon's air quality ranked worst in the nation, with several cities falling into the unhealthy zone. Portland's air quality was moderate, but expected to get worse.
What people don't realize is what is in wildfire smoke. It is dangerous and toxic, even when it seems like you don't feel it when you're breathing it.
Dr. Ann Toledo with Keizer Permanente says smoke particulates can irritate air passages, causing them to tighten, making it hard to breathe. They also can irritate blood vessels. She says it's worse for smokers or people with breathing conditions.
Please make sure you have the medicines and breathing medicines you need to keep yourself safe.
But I do have asthma, so I do notice it.
Bring an inhaler.
As for temperatures,
Just hot.
as we push 100 degrees, doctors say heat illness can set in quickly, like during an intense midday workout. But it can also set in slowly over several days.
So the more days of heat, like what's happening this week, the worse it gets, especially if you're an older adult or someone who can't drink as much water and you're cooped up in a hot place for multiple days. That's when it gets really dangerous.
And of course, one of the toughest parts about this heat wave, we're feeling it right now. The lack of cool down at night. I cannot believe we're still in the low 80s out here and we can feel it. And it bears repeating, guys. Stay hydrated. If you don't have AC, get to someplace cool. And maybe most importantly, check on your loved ones and neighbors. David.
Yeah, great advice. Catherine Cook live for us tonight. Thanks, Catherine. You know, stick with KGW as we continue to track the extreme heat, the haze, the smoke, the wildfire danger, the storms over the coming days. Remember, you can check the latest forecast anytime on our free TV streaming app. It's KGW Plus, the KGW mobile app, and KGW.com. To new information tonight about this scene in southeast Portland, where it appears a man drove a car into a Sherwin-Williams and then ran away. Drove through the wall into the store. This is along Southeast Division Street this afternoon near 98th. Police tracked down the driver and arrested him. Some people inside at the time suffered minor injuries. Developing this evening, Keizer police are looking for a woman they believe fled the state after her husband was found dead in their home. We heard from neighbors today. Officers discovered the body of 59-year-old Walter Pekka on Cummings Lane on Friday. They're not saying how he died, but are considering it a homicide. Investigators are trying to find his wife, 56-year-old Shelley Pekka. They say she is not a suspect, but they do want to speak with her. Again, we're showing you the 99 Ford Explorer last spotted in Brewster, Washington on Saturday, north of Chelan. It's more than 400 miles away. Today, we talked to neighbors.
Well, as soon as I seen where the tape was across the front of the house, I knew that it wasn't good.
This used to be a nice, safe place. I used to love living in Keizer.
Police are asking anyone who spots Shelly Pekka or her vehicle to immediately call 911. In an update this evening, a new report from Nippon Dynawave is giving us more insight into that deadly chemical tank blast in Longview, the one that killed 11 workers. The report submitted to state regulators described how the storage tank failed, resulting in a spill of about 900,000 gallons of white liquor. That's a corrosive chemical used in paper making. According to Nippon Dynawave, the massive spill damaged a nearby fire main, which added water and then met the liquid spread across a much larger area. The map from the company shows the spill covered about 12 acres in all, with plant workers taking steps to minimize the damage. Though the report says they face tough trade-offs, keeping pumps running risks sending contaminated liquid toward the Columbia. Shutting them off caused other areas to overflow and allowed the spill to move into drainage ditches. And outside industrial safety experts says plant workers essentially were able to avoid a catastrophe.
They were sending what little they could directly to the Columbia River, and then they were basically using their paved area as a collection pond.
And that in the face of so much loss, right? Nippon Dynawave says it's working with state and federal investigators to identify the cause of the disaster. Could be months.